The Shepherd and the Wild Dog. The first scream came from the sheep at dawn. It was sharp, sudden, and wrong, the kind of sound that does not belong to morning. The shepherd was already awake when he heard it, sitting on a low rock with his cloak wrapped tight against the cold. He did not rush at first. Panic was a luxury shepherds could not afford. Panic made mistakes. He stood slowly, staff in hand, eyes scanning the fog-heavy valley below. The flock shifted nervously, wool brushing wool, hooves scraping stone. And then he saw it, a shape at the edge of the pasture. Lean, dark, still. The wild dog did not bark. It did not growl. It simply watched, head low, eyes fixed on the weakest lamb, measuring distance, timing, fear. The shepherd had heard stories of this animal long before he ever saw it. A lone hunter, pushed out of the forest by hunger, too clever to be trapped, too desperate to retreat. Some said it killed for sport. Others said it killed because no one had ever shown it mercy. The shepherd lifted his staff and struck it against the ground. The sound echoed. The wild dog did not run. That was the first thing that unsettled him. Most predators fled when challenged by a human. This one merely tilted its head, studying him the way a man studies a problem that refuses to be simple. "Go," the shepherd said, voice firm. The dog's ears twitched. Its ribs showed beneath mangy fur. One eye bore a white scar, cloudy and half-blind. This was not a creature born cruel. This was a creature shaped by hunger and survival. Still, the lamb screamed again. The shepherd advanced, staff raised. Only then did the wild dog retreat, not in fear, but in calculation, backing away step by step until the fog swallowed it whole. The valley went silent. The shepherd exhaled slowly. He had defended his flock. That was his duty. But something about the encounter stayed lodged in his chest like a thorn. That night, he reinforced the pen with stones and thorns. He lit a fire that burned long after the stars appeared. He slept lightly, staff beside him, listening to every sound the darkness made. Near midnight, the howl came. It was not loud. It was not aggressive. It was lonely. The sound drifted across the valley, thin and broken, echoing off the hills like a question no one wanted to answer. The sheep stirred. The shepherd sat up, heart heavy. He knew that sound. It was the sound of a creature that had lost its pack. In the days that followed, the wild dog returned again and again, always at a distance, always watching, never attacking while the shepherd was present. It learned his patterns, his routes, his weaknesses. On the fourth day, it struck. The shepherd had gone to check a broken fence near the stream, leaving the flock momentarily alone. When he heard the panic, it was already too late. One lamb lay dead. Another dragged itself across the grass, bleeding, legs torn by teeth that knew exactly where to bite. The wild dog stood nearby, panting, blood darkening its muzzle. The shepherd felt rage rise in his chest like fire. He ran. The dog bolted. The shepherd chased it farther than he ever had before, beyond the valley, into the thinning forest where trees leaned close and the ground grew uneven. His lungs burned. His legs screamed. But grief drove him forward. At last, the dog stumbled. It turned, baring its teeth, too exhausted to flee. The shepherd raised his staff. This was the moment stories were made of. The moment justice was delivered. The moment the threat was ended. The wild dog did not lunge. It sat, chest heaving, one paw lifted, torn and bleeding, its good eye locked onto the shepherd's face, not with hatred, but with something closer to defiance mixed with resignation. "Go on," the look said. "Finish it." The shepherd hesitated. In that pause, something broke inside him, not anger, but certainty. He saw the truth then. This animal was not evil. It was starving. He lowered the staff. The wild dog flinched anyway. Slowly, carefully, the shepherd reached into his satchel and pulled out a piece of dried meat, his own supper. He tossed it onto the ground between them and stepped back. The dog did not move. Minutes passed. The forest breathed around them. Finally, hunger won. The wild dog limped forward, snatched the meat, and retreated several paces before devouring it with desperate ferocity. When it finished, it looked up again, confused. The shepherd turned and walked away. That night, no sheep were attacked. Nor the next. The shepherd began leaving small scraps of food at the edge of the pasture, far from the flock. He told himself it was strategy. A fed predator was a less dangerous one. But deep down, he knew it was something else. The wild dog never came close while he watched. It took the food only after dusk, leaving tracks in the mud that told a story of slow healing and cautious trust. Weeks passed. Then winter came early. Snow buried the grass. The sheep grew restless, and hunger returned. For all of them. One night, the shepherd woke to chaos. The pen was broken. The sheep were scattering, and the wild dog was inside. The shepherd ran, heart pounding, expecting slaughter. Instead, he saw something impossible. The wild dog stood between the flock and the darkness beyond, teeth bared, fur raised, not attacking the sheep, but driving something else away. Wolves. A small pack, emboldened by winter and blood. The wild dog lunged at them with reckless fury, buying time it could not afford. The shepherd shouted, threw stones, waved fire. Together, man and beast drove the wolves back into the forest. When it was over, the wild dog collapsed. Blood stained the snow. The shepherd knelt beside it, hands shaking. The animal's breathing was shallow. Its scarred eye stared at the stars, unblinking. "You could have run," the shepherd whispered. The wild dog did not answer. The snow fell heavier. The shepherd carried the wild dog back to the fire. It was heavier than it looked, all bone and muscle and stubborn life. The dog did not resist. It barely breathed. Blood soaked into the shepherd's cloak, warm against the freezing night. He laid the animal near the flames and worked through the night. He cleaned wounds with melted snow. He bound torn flesh with strips of cloth torn from his own clothes. He spoke softly, not expecting understanding, only hoping the sound of a human voice might tether the dog to the world a little longer. By morning, the wild dog still lived. Its breathing steadied. Its chest rose and fell with effort, but it rose and fell all the same. The sheep gathered nearby, uneasy but unharmed. Days passed. The wild dog healed slowly. It never tried to bite, never tried to flee. It watched the shepherd with that same calculating gaze, now softened by exhaustion. When it could finally stand, it limped away, not into the forest, but to the edge of the pasture. It stayed there, watching, guarding. The wolves did not return. Word spread through the valley. Travelers spoke of a shepherd whose flock was untouched, of a wild dog that walked the boundary like a shadow, neither tame nor feral. Some called it foolishness. Some called it madness. One night, a stranger arrived. A hunter. He carried traps and a bow. He had heard of the wild dog and wanted its pelt. A scarred animal fetched a high price. The shepherd stood in front of the pen. "No," he said. The hunter laughed. "It's a killer." "So are we," the shepherd replied. That night, the wild dog disappeared. The shepherd searched until dawn, heart heavy with fear that trust had finally cost him everything. At sunrise, the dog returned, dragging a broken trap behind it. The hunter was gone. The valley remained quiet after that. Seasons turned. The shepherd grew older. The wild dog grew grayer. It never became a pet. It never wagged its tail or sought affection. It remained wild, proud, and distant. But it stayed. When the shepherd finally lay down one winter and did not rise again, the sheep did not scatter. The wild dog stood watch. And when the villagers came, they found no predators near the flock. Only a scarred animal at the edge of the pasture, howling once, not in hunger, not in rage, but in farewell.